So I'm going to talk not about the manifesto, about a project we did, which, well, we doubted a bit, is this IoT or not? And it's definitely, in a sense, IoT. But I think it very much fits to the discussion we were having the last 2 days about the human beings and how we can make our products fit humans. It's called RulesSpark. We're very closely related to this project, especially me. I co-founded this as a company in 2011. And what we do there is energy solutions for rural India, basically. I'm going to dive into it a bit. So I want to talk today about how technology meets design and meets culture, which was very apparent in this project. And I'm going to take you back to the start of RulesSpark, which was in 2011. When a friend of mine, Mertens, he published his work, Lowering the Threshold for Access to Sustainable Energy. So basically what this work boiled down to is that it was a kind of roadmap, how can we apply smart grids in rural India? And for those of you, I guess everybody knows what a smart grid can do, but it's basically if you add the internet to electricity, to energy networks, you can smartly link supply and demand and make better use of sustainable energy, with cool things like electric cars as buffers and stuff like that. And an essential part of this is that we are going to share energy and share information along this network. And back then I started designing this as a product designer. So I very much approached it as how can we make a product that enables this vision. So as a product designer, first of course you explore a bit the context you're designing for and what it all means. And what the problem is actually. Now, the problem is very apparent in India. There are 400 million people without access to electricity, and they estimate that there will be an 80% energy demand increase in 2030. So there's a lot of work, and I think especially for designers we can do a lot there. And of course this is smart grids. Again, it's very much IoT, but we parked this for a bit. We just started to see how can we design a product that can do all this. So also we went into these villages. This is typically a village in India from above. So you see a few houses every here and there. People are mostly farmers. And this is really going back in time. You can see the effects of no electricity in sense of that there is a limited development here. People cannot really contribute in the economic system we all do. And these are the sources of energy they do use. So firewood and kerosene for lighting. And then I went to India to do the first step of the project, basically. So the design research very much user-focused. So what is energy for these people, and how do they share it? So I did all these things like brainstorms with the user group, co-design sessions. We did cultural probes with these people in the villages. We did co-designing, so together see what we could make. And this was, I have to say, one of the most interesting outcomes of all these sessions we ever did. Because, for example, if I ask people, what is sharing energy? And take a photo every time you think it has something to do with sharing energy. I deliberately kept this a bit abstract to see what would come out. I got photos back of people shaking hands. And they said, yeah, the one person shares the energy with the other. Or pictures of the sun and the water, and it said the live stream of the sun goes into the water and provides us all with energy. This was super interesting, of course, but very difficult to put into in my head still IoT box what I can do something with. So it was not very easy to design for. So this kind of asked for a different approach. So back in the Netherlands, I'm back reflecting on this a bit. I decided I have to go back there and prototype what I think should be done, to just see what happens. And I used a method where we said a more first-person perspective on this. So I decided I'm going to be, as a designer, being involved in this new to-design system and see what I have to do to make stuff happen, and then see whether I later can design myself out of this by a system or a product. So what you see in India, of course, there are many solar panels already there. Also many equipment that use DC power, so what you can make with a solar panel. Also batteries are there. They directly connect these two together, so they don't work very long, but at least it is all there. So I figured what I'm going to do is try to see what if I go to the people with the solar panels, ask them to charge my battery, and then go to the people with these kind of lamps and ask them whether they want to rent this battery. to use it. And then later I had the idea that I would design myself a way and maybe make a system where you can text message like I need power now. The system would know who has a solar panel and text message to those, please charge a battery and bring it there. So that was kind of the idea. But of course, if you go to these places, and I knew this, but still a bit naive, the attention is very much on me, not so much on what I was planning to do. And I'm a white person in these villages. It's very interesting. So it was very difficult to communicate what my plan was and to get them involved in this system. So, and we had a tight deadline, so I kind of was in India. This didn't work, and I kind of had to start over. And this is very much the first clash with a culture, you might say, that I had a nice idea, but these people were totally not waiting for it and totally not ready for it. So quickly we decided we're going to make some prototypes in the field there. We built some lamps from plastic bottles and stuff you could buy in the market there. So here they are. And we then made 8 of these and connected them to some improvised solar power controller, solar panel controller. And we found a guy in a village, Ranjit is his name, in Sankui, where we installed the solar panel and explained him a bit about this product. So we showed him the product, and of course then we compared with what they had now, so the kerosene lamps. Well, this is of course kind of happening again, so the village has to check it out a bit and see what it is. And then later they installed the solar panel, and then later inside the house, there's the little box I was talking about. We installed this kit, and we basically, because it was 8 lamps, the whole discussion that they should share it was very easy. They kind of got that. And we thought, okay, we just leave here now and see what's going to happen. And after 2 or 3 days, we came back, and it was very interesting to see that Ranjit, he told me that the first night after we left, he already was able to rent out all these lamps, so people very much wanted this product. And especially what was interesting is how he told this to me. He was very happy, and I could see he felt responsible and proud of enabling this to these people. So he became really an important stakeholder in this system. And I kind of learned here that it doesn't make so much sense to enforce a system on a group of users, but it makes very much sense to give them the tools and to kind of see how they would develop the system. And here's another photo of that's how you can see a bit how it's used. So first it was a bit squeezed away, and there were still the kerosene lamps. And later he really built it into a kind of shop in the village. And when they rented out these lamps, it was very cool to see that it became kind of a social gathering there. So it became an important spot in this village. It is very close to what people are waiting for in this village. They really don't care whether there's a SIM card in this router or not. We, the guys who develop the backend, of course, think, shit, we don't have no clue how much energy is there. We need a SIM card in there. But they don't care. And I think it's very interesting to, in this way, kind of, we forced to think it the other way around. But this way, we forced ourselves to design a product people needed. So this was 3 years ago. In the meantime, we scaled the pilot up a bit, and we have 100 of these, what we call local energy suppliers currently in the field. And we also improved the product a lot, so we really developed it, and we're actually now currently really developing the one there on the right bottom. We're really making it for mass production. And we added also, through the years, we added an extra component to the product, these blue cubes. We call them share cubes. They are going to be used to share energy between all these entrepreneurs. So if one has more, because everybody uses, of course, their energy different than others. So if one person has surpluses, they can put it in these cubes and trade them with other entrepreneurs. We are currently figuring out how to do this, again, by actually doing it. In the meantime, also, of course, the company grew. So we now have a private limited in India where we run all the operations. We're with 10 people in the meantime. And as the afdeling, we always keep going there and doing the research projects and developing these new products, figure out how they should be implemented. I'm also going to tell you a bit about our vision on how this should grow. So I made a kind of a a schematic overview. So currently what we have is these local energy suppliers with their customers. And we are now also seeing that some customers around them want to use more energy. So we are going to enable that they can connect a wire between these two houses. And then, like I said, we introduced these share cubes. So these share cubes are going to link all these different areas together. And of course, then there's going to be a new type of customer. So currently, who's going to use directly this cube? That's very interesting. Currently, there's a school where they watch television with using the surpluses of these entrepreneurs. So there's no electricity in this village as well, and they have a television that runs on these cubes. And of course, it increases the efficiency of the network because we make better use of the same hardware. So we're going to have increased customers possible. Then what we also see is that some people are more entrepreneurial than others of this group of 100 at the moment. And some are really wanting to supply more energy and they don't care so much about customer relations. So they become more like solar farms, we call them. And they then in turn deliver the energy to the grid, to the network. And also other sources we're introducing, of course, the grid. There are some areas where there is a grid. And in India, this grid is as disruptive as a solar panel. So it kind of matches in the vision. Biogas is very interesting there. And then, of course, the efficiency increases as well. And our vision is, and we're not there yet, that if we really make this bigger and scale this up, we can also supply the surpluses of energy to local industries. So by the time we want to achieve this, of course, all these devices, especially in the houses of the entrepreneurs, need to be connected to some kind of network that we know what energy is where, so that we can make the network more efficient and reliable and sustainable and open, and also that people kind of can tweak it. And I think what the discussion also the last 2 days was, and what we really hands-on learned in this project, that for designers it's very important to focus on the meaning of a system for a user, and not so much how we can apply Internet of Things, because users, and especially these extreme users, you might say, they really don't care, of course, about the Internet of Things. They want to use their products, and we definitely need it as a tool. So I think if we do this, we are able to really design meaningful products. And I think instead of debating too much about what the possible effect might be of the Internet of Things in these kind of areas, first try it out, get out there and see what works and what doesn't work. And on this process, you will notice it's sometimes pretty shitty because you have to kill your darlings and things really don't work the way you planned it. But at the same time, I think it's hypocrite if you don't do that, because then you're developing something nobody wants. And of course, I think it's very interesting that we as designers tend to get as much knowledge about this Internet of Things because we use it as a kind of tool set when we're there. We think, okay, this is now very difficult to do, but we know that it's going to be possible with the technical solutions that are there. Yeah, so basically that's the story. I have a small video about RuleSpark. I still have a bit of time, so I'm going to run that for you. And then I want to thank you. If the sound works.
Ik denk dat je als ontwerper een verantwoordelijkheid hebt en je rol is om soms bot of hard gewoon een ingreep te doen. Bam, dit moeten we doen, jongens. En dan kijken hoe het gebeurt.
Inspired by the opportunities of smart grids, RuralSpark develops bottom-up energy networks in rural India, where there are currently 400 million people without access to electricity. Smart grids build upon multiple energy sources to enable more controlled use of disruptive, sustainable energy by linking supply and demand intelligently. The crude context of rural India offers a chance to leapfrog the expensive and resource-intensive grids constructed in most of the developed world. RuralSpark develops small-scale energy solutions and creates tools that enable a market for sustainable energy to emerge, working towards successful and reliable smart networks in rural areas. So what does this look like? In a village without electricity, people can join RuralSpark. Renting equipment, villagers become local energy suppliers and earn money. When joining Rural Spark, one joins a network of many other entrepreneurs with different small-scale energy sources. On a sunny day, a solar-powered entrepreneur sells his energy surplus to the network. On cloudy days, he buys energy to keep supplying his customers. Distributed ownership makes the network reliable. When a villager joins Rural Spark, he rents an energy router which allows him to buy and sell energy from the Rural Spark network, either by cable or through charged batteries. Rural Spark is the service provider who facilitates access to clean, safe and sustainable energy.
Het belangrijkste is dat wij de kracht zien in het ondernemerschap in die mensen, dat we dat proberen naar boven te halen. En dan komen er dingen naar boven die geweldig kunnen zijn voor het opbouwen van dit netwerk.
The network was implemented from day one and is continuously being improved with the actual experience from the context of use and its impact. The first tools developed by Rural Spark are now in use. Close relationships with several local partners have been set up to support the growing network. Country and culture are respected, and existing maintenance, distribution and sales systems are leveraged for continuation and growth. Rural Spark envisions and realises the energy networks of tomorrow.
Just update the video a bit with the prototypes. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you so much for coming over and for presenting this. I think we are running late, but I also think there are probably a lot of questions because we're not only talking about the IoT and hardware and design here, we're also getting into a whole new world of whatever you want to call this, but I think if you apply this to a very different context, obviously there come a lot of different questions. So even though we will probably not be able to take all of them, we will take some of them. So I think we have a second microphone also somewhere. There it is. I start from the front. Oh, there's another one. Go.
Hey, great project, really interesting. I think the idea that you are creating the product and actually letting the locals to the large extent design the system is really interesting, and I would really love to hear more about the different kinds of systems, the different types of systems that they implemented in different places.
Yeah, that's I can tell a lot about that, but I'll keep it short because there indeed we have these 100 people, and it's really cool to see what is happening. Some light out the whole cricket field, so one is into sports and he uses his lamps for that. Others rent local houses, rooms with lights to study. And of course you see also in this trading. So with this school I was mentioning, some people, they trade the cubes, we call them on a market, and then goes to the school, or they link directly. So yeah, well, we have hundreds of these stories of how people are using it. Yeah.
Hi, great project. I really like how you've leveraged the way communities work in the villages. I have two questions. The first is, well, it looks like the product is designed with the community but manufactured elsewhere. Could you tell me more about how you built local capacity, especially in terms of repairing these units? And the second question is, what's the cost of both installing it and maintaining the system?
So the first question, we did try to really produce in the village. That was a bridge too far. But what we do is we have local maintenance. You have in India these mobile repair shops and all these kind of things. They are able to repair it. We made a manual, so we kind of opened how it's built. The real product is going to be developed with a factory in India itself as well. So really try to keep it in the country. And the second question for pricing. So what people, they pay a monthly fee to join this and a deposit. And the entrepreneur, depends a bit on how many lamps he wants to add in his package. But we charge about 450 rupees and divided by 75, that is 8 euros something. And the people, they use kerosene lamps now. They pay about 75 rupees per month for kerosene. And with our lamp, which they then rent from this entrepreneur, they charge about 50 rupees per month. So we are cheaper for the end user with the light.
Hello, great project. I was wondering, what is the benefit, or how much benefit do you get from having just one solar panel instead of having in every lamp having a solar panel?
Well, first of all, it's easier to give one person the tools, and we have many less customers. And I think it's also that they can kind of scale depending on how many users there are. They can play a bit with it. So one day they charge more mobile phones, one day more lamps. So it's more flexible in a sense. We never calculated whether we are much more efficient. We know that for example, in the Netherlands, if the 3% of what you can generate in the summer with a solar panel, you can generate in the winter. So by storing it in these cubes and by trading these surpluses, we do have a huge efficiency step we made. Yeah.
Hi. You mentioned that you're looking into how to distribute the information about how the network looks and what energy is where. Have you looked at integrating data storage in the batteries or in the charged lamps so that you distribute the information together with the energy?
Yeah, so we noticed that some of these entrepreneurs are outside reach of 3G or whatever. So we are indeed looking into the nodes that are in reach of 3G to store info there and then to communicate it with these physical cubes. Yeah.
Well, once again, thanks so much for coming and thanks so much for sharing this.
Thank you.